Diane Wingeter is the founder and CEO of Totally Exposed, LLC. Since 2005, she has excelled in promoting and marketing individuals and businesses in one fashion or another. Contributing positively to another person's success is rewarding and is something that neither party will ever forget. Due to the exceptional marketing success and manner in which Diane enhances the positive image of other businesses, Totally Exposed received the 2016 Best of Dublin Award in the Business Services category. Please welcome Diane.
Concerned about that. Awesome. Well, typically I do not stand behind a lectern. This is what this is called, everyone. Just due to the fact that I'm more of a mobile person, but so this will be a little bit different for me trying to stay stationary. And Scott, you are going to give me the clicker, por favor. So today we are going to talk about keys to crafting a meaningful persuasive bio, and I'll get to defining what a persuasive bio means in a moment. And I also want you to keep the note on the right-hand column in your mind as well. So you may not be passing the 0 moment of truth and you don't even know it. So we're going to kind of come back to that and reference that a few times. So because that 0 moment of truth is something that people don't always realize in business. So Scott, this clicker is not helping me out. You may have to be my clicker. All right, so I always like to start off with what differentiates me from other marketers, coaches, and so forth out in the business world. So I call it my success cocktail, just because that sounds kind of fun, right? Everybody likes a cocktail. So the first thing is my entrepreneurial experience. So I have owned 7 businesses along life's highway. I was getting to share a few of them with Mark, and I currently own 5 businesses. So I am an entrepreneur from heart. I am cut from the entrepreneurial cloth. So that helps me in understanding other businesses, and when I work with clients, I'm quick to understand who they serve and so forth. So it helps me in marketing them better because I do have a sense of entrepreneurship and business ownership. I've been in the space for over 25 years, again, marketing and promoting other industries, and that's when I launched my largest enterprise was 25 years ago, which was a clothing store chain. I had 17 stores in 5 states, and I had that for 8 years, so that was a monster. We did a lot of business, $4.6 million a year, business to consumer, and about another 1.5 on the wholesale side. So that's, I understand retail, inside, outside, frontwards, backwards, every which way but loose in the retail arena. And last and certainly but not least is my undeniable desire to put others first. So when I meet with a client or meet with another person, I'm always trying to determine what can I do for them, even possibly outside the realm of what they have hired me to do. So that's a difference maker as well. You don't just get me in whatever role or company you've hired me in. I'm going to do more than that for you. So just a bit about my background. Okay, so it is possible to lose clients before you ever even approach the starting line. So think about, what does your website say? What does your bio say? What does your LinkedIn profile say? What do all your marketing materials say? Your brochures, your flyers, and so forth. What do they say about YOU? Not what you do, but YOU, who you are, who's in your heart. Consumers, clients, members in this case, care about why you do what you do. And that has become more and more predominant over the years. Back in the day, it wasn't so much. People just wondered what you knew, and if you were good at what you did, you got hired. But there is this new storytelling, and with all of the social media that is available these days, that storytelling is what reels people in, and they want to know why you do what you do. So don't keep yourself or your story, your why, a secret. That's not a good idea. So the number one purpose of your bio is to get you noticed and to have you stand out, set you apart from others in the same space that you are in. So I believe in Columbus, Ohio, there are over 8,000 real estate professionals. And Patrick, are you in the real estate? No, okay, I didn't hear exactly what company you're with on your introduction. But there are over 8,000 real estate professionals in the Columbus area. So do you think they need to set themselves apart? Ryan, do you need to do that? He does. I actually know Ryan. So it's critical. The insurance industry is critical. Financial advisors, and it's because there's so much competition, and everyone has competition. You know, a CFO has competition, anyone in the accounting space, but there are certain industries in Columbus, Ohio that have an extreme amount of competition, and they have got to set themselves apart. Next slide, thank you. So what is a persuasive bio? So it's actually a term that I created, and I made it up. So it is a document intentionally crafted to persuade the reader to take action and get to know you further. So once the document is read, you want to leave the person, and we'll get to this, with a feeling that they want to meet you, they want to know you, they want to call you, have drinks with you, go to lunch with you. I mean, something. You're leaving them with that hunger and desire to get to know you on the next level. So the reader could be potential, B2C consumer, a client or a customer. The reader could be a professional colleague that you want to build a relationship with. So B2B. So again, I'm going to use the real estate professional. So if someone is a real estate professional and they are talking to a potential homeowner, buyer or seller that wants to use their services, well, that's going to be a different conversation than if they want to maintain or start a relationship with a mortgage professional or a loan officer, right? Because they're going to offer something different to both of those audiences. So their bios, they need to have two in that case, one reflecting each audience. Because you always want to begin with the end in mind. How do you want the reader to feel, and what do you want the reader to do? And many times we don't always start with the end in mind. We're just going gusto and not thinking, well, what do we want someone to do at the conclusion of reading this flyer or this brochure or coming to my trade show booth? What do we want them to do next? Thank you. And why does this matter? Because we're humans, all right? We are all humans, and we buy, or in other words, say yes, based on three factors. So number one is desire, second is emotion, and third is knowledge. So desire, we buy what we want, not what we need. So we go to the grocery store, right? Because we do need groceries, but we put in the cart what we want. We need vegetables and fruits and so forth, right? But we put in whatever we want. So you have to realize that, we always purchase based on what our true desire is. So if there's two types of cars available and there's one that you want, no matter how good the salesperson is, you're going to buy the one that you actually want. If you want a Lamborghini and somebody's trying to sell you, a Mustang, well, you're going to go for the Lamborghini regardless of that person's sales abilities because it's what you want in your heart. So that's how we buy. We buy with what we want. And we certainly use emotion. That's part of all of our transactions. When you go to talk to somebody and you meet two people that are car salespersons, you're going to buy from the one that you liked, right? That made you feel like a human being, that they noticed you, they were interested in you. And so we buy on emotion, and then we validate with the knowledge. We validate with facts. So you may do some follow-up research. You probably did this first, actually, on the type of vehicle and so forth. So that's our hierarchy of how we make a decision on desire, emotion, and knowledge. So a well-crafted bio will do the following 6 things. So number one, it's going to intertwine your background, your education, your work history in a narrative manner, not just a true laundry list. These are all the places I worked, and just list them all. So it's more of a storytelling of why you went into that industry, what drew that to you. That is what is interesting to individuals on why they chose the industry that they are in. Now, your bio should show that you're knowledgeable and an expert in your field. So give some substance to those statements and not just skip over that. That is important, the degrees that you have earned. And I always put in a bio that someone earned. They didn't receive. You don't receive your bachelor's, you don't receive your master's. I mean, yes, you do, but you earn them. You worked hard for that. So that's just a slight word, differentiation you can use. So you always want to be clear and intentional, as I mentioned earlier, if you're speaking to a B2B audience or B2C audience, because the result of what you're sharing is different. And you write a bio in a third person. And I get questioned on this a lot, rather than in the first person. So when you write in the first person, you have a tendency to come off one of two ways. Number one, you're going to come off arrogant, I do this, and I've done that, and I won this, and I earned that. You can have a tendency to sound arrogant. But on the flip side, when you write about yourself in I, you can also sound childlike. Think back to 3rd grade when you're in front of the class, like, hi, I have a science project, and I like birds, and I like the color pink. I mean, you sound very childlike, or you sound arrogant. It's hard to be in the middle when you write in the first person. So if you write about yourself in the third party, and it's odd at the beginning, but once you get used to it, it flows a little bit easier, then it comes across well-crafted. And people may think even you hired someone to write the bio about you, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that perception that you engage someone to write about you. Your bio is going to end with a feel-good statement. This is awesome when you have a quote or a statement, or ladies, if there's a quote you always carry in your purse. Guys, if there's a quote you carry in your wallet. If there's something that you strive to live your life by, if you can end your bio on that, wow, what a home run. Because it ends on emotion, and people are like, wow, they strive to live their life that way. That is what I want to do as well. It motivates and inspires people to want to work with you. And then last but not least, it passes the so what test. So if someone reads your bio and says, so what? You didn't get to them. You didn't get to any core of who you are in order to reach them. So it's interesting. I read numerous bios and I'm like, so what? I don't really care. And I move on to the next one. So you have a short period of time to get people's attention. You want them to say, tell me more, tell me more. Next slide. So here's a few things on the flip side of what a bio will not. So it will not include an excessive amount of industry terminology. So you want to leave that for a proposal, for a letter of intent, some of those things that you're getting more into the nitty-gritty, like the next step of the conversation. So the initial conversation, you don't want to use, industry jargon, because people may not even know what it is that you are speaking about. Speak entirely in the past tense. So this is not your obituary. So I read many, 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 many bios that has done, was, everything is in the past tense. Even if you're not currently doing those things, there's a way to structure the sentence so it's still an active part of who you are. Just because you don't do that anymore doesn't mean it's dead, right? It's still a part of who you are and how you have come to be who you are. So do not write it entirely in the past tense. It should not exceed 1 page because nobody will read it. So if you send someone your bio, it's 2, 3, 4 pages long. This is not an autobiography. This is a persuasive bio. So it needs to fit on one piece of paper so that someone would be likely to even read it. And we'll talk about another scenario in a moment on that. And it should not be riddled with spelling and grammatical errors. That sabotages your credibility. And I find that a lot as well. I take my red pencil out and I circle all of those things, and that just makes me wonder about how savvy of a business owner or professional they really are. And then another thing that's a huge pet peeve of mine is ending with the classic cliche, Zachary resides in Westerville with his spouse, 3 dogs, 2 kids, and a picket fence. And I'm being a bit facetious, but a bio that is very staunch and structured and reserved during the whole bio, then you get to the last sentence and then, oh, but he's a human being. So they're sprinkling that in so that you have some sense, he's got a dog named Buckeye or whatever. And to me, it's too little too late. That one sentence at the end doesn't make me all of a sudden know who he is and what makes him tick. It's, like I said, it's too little too late. If your spouse or your kids are important to your why, which they certainly can be, they need to be riddled throughout your entire bio. If your spouse is, a strong mentor to you, well, say that. Say that up in the bio and give them that credibility that they deserve. So that one is kind of humorous when I read that at the end, and I circle that at the end of a bio, and it's just like, why did you do that? You could have ended it in a much more impactful way than trying to show that you're a father and a husband and dog owner. All right, next slide. So important, a persuasive bio will not contain the following 15 words that are on the next slide. So what you want to do is certainly show ability and confidence, again, without tipping the coin and being arrogant, and you want to eliminate all tentative language. So no one wants to do business or be associated with somebody that maybe does that or could do that or I should do that. those tentative words. So those are on the next slide, the 15 of them. So you want to eliminate or replace these words. In the majority of the cases, you can eliminate the word without having to even do anything else. So, Mark, since we chatted before, would you read the words on the left-hand side?
Just, perhaps, very, maybe, could, quite, should, help.
Very good. And Amanda, can you read the other side?
Literally, nearly, most, mostly, a lot, never, honestly, really.
Okay. So those are no-nos. So when I'm working with someone that's going to craft their own bio, I tell them, just write it out. Write it as it flows. Don't get caught up on the nitty-gritty at the onset. So write the bio as it flows, and then you actually leave it for an evening or a night, and you go back to it the next day. I say let it simmer. Let it simmer, let it sizzle. Then go back to it the next day with fresh eyes. Get out your red pen and circle all of those words in there and get rid of them. So help is one of the words that is overused. To me, it's like new and improved. It doesn't mean anything. So you want to change the word help to what you really do. Do you enable? Do you teach? Do you coach? Whatever that is that you do as helping, insert that word. It is more impactful to say what you do than that word help. And I read a tremendous number of bios that start with, I help business owners, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's just so boring of an entry to me. Start with something strong and powerful in what you do or something about your character. So those words you definitely want to avoid. Next slide, please. So now that you've crafted the bio, you're like, okay, what do I do with this thing? I worked on it, I got it done, I've crafted it, I've circled all my words, I've got it looking good. So now that you have crafted your bio, I'm going to share with you 5 ways to use the one page. Because again, we talked about the fact it should fit on one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So you can use it on your website, because as you all know, website really doesn't have an ending. The page can go as long as you want it to go. So you can slap it on your website under the About Us, Meet the Founder, Meet the Team, that kind of a heading is where it would fall under. You can use it inside a corporate annual report. So typically when you get a corporate annual report, you open it up, right? What's on the left-hand side? A letter from the president, a note from the president, something from the president. So wouldn't it be nice to know about them as a human being on the face of the earth instead of just all of the numbers that are already in the corporate report anyway? That part is already in there. All that data, all that analytics on their profits and loss and market share and all of those things are already in the corporate annual report. So not that the founder can allude to it in a way, but it doesn't need to recap what's already in the report. So this should be more about his stance, his vision, that type of thing, what's going on in him. A written request for a proposal, which is an RFP. There's a lot of LOIs, which mean letter of intent, letter of interest. You can also use your bio in that, because it's going to set you apart from everybody else that is submitting a request for proposal. Number one, the fact that you even have it, and number two, that it's well crafted, right? And talks about who you are. You can certainly use it as an introduction page for a presentation or a client proposal. So if you have to put together proposals for clients, I have one client that she is in the furniture business. So she certainly has to put together a full proposal, layout, everything for her clients with what she recommends. So we've crafted a one-page letter that she puts with it. So that helps them. She touches on a lot of those things when she meets them face to face, but it's nice for them to have that takeaway that recaps why she's in the furniture business. Does she like to sell furniture? Well, sure, but there's way more beyond her than just a transaction. It's about the relationship and how the furniture was crafted and where it's made and how it fits your family. All of those things is what's important, and that's what sets her apart from others in the furniture business that are just looking for a transaction. So she always includes it with that. And it also can be a magazine article, believe it or not. So if it's written well enough as a story, then you can insert it into a magazine, possibly next to an ad. So if you take out a half-page ad for your business, organization, you can say, hey, Mr. Editor or Mrs. Editor, do you mind if we run my bio next to it? And in most cases, since I owned a magazine, you're like, thank goodness, I have something relevant on the page next to that ad. So many times the editor of a magazine will like that. It's like, that's a good thing. So here are 5 ways to utilize your Synopsis version of your bio. So I've talked about it's a full page, right? So now you're going to truncate it down to 3 paragraphs. And you say, well, how do you do that? It's all fabulous. And it is difficult to do. So excuse me. So what you're going to do is you're going to keep the same opening paragraph. You're going to keep the same closing. And the idea is to take the 3 paragraphs in the middle and truncate it down. So you don't get to tell quite as much about your story, but you should still sound like the same person when you read both versions of your bio. So if you get it down to 3 paragraphs, then you can use it in the following ways. So number 1 would be on your LinkedIn summary. So I'm sure most of you in the room have a LinkedIn summary. So there's a section that says about us. It used to be actually said about me. Then I know for a while they changed it to summary and people were still stumped like, what am I supposed to put in here? So, but you can go ahead and insert those 3 paragraphs there. Again, if it's too long when someone first glances at it, they're going to be, that's too long, I'm not going to read it. So that you're, again, that's that 0 moment of truth. You're already having them discount you before you've ever given them a chance to encounter you. You can also use it on a trifold or a bifold brochure. It can become one of the tries. It can be part of the bio as well. Digital newsletters, there's usually a section at the bottom where the author has a little bit about themselves. Again, you may not use all 3 paragraphs, but you have something that you can insert right into that portion. So again, they have a feel about who is the author of this newsletter. And again, it makes them more willing to read the information once they know about you. You will pick up a few key phrases that you can use in your 60-second elevator speech. So once you've crafted your bio, there's going to be some sentences in there. You're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And you can recite those and use those when you're doing an introduction about yourself. And a speaking engagement introduction as well. You can truncate things down to 2 or 3 paragraphs, depending on how much information the person introducing you wants, and that can be something that they can read. So it makes it easy way if you have these tools in your arsenal. So next slide. So reflect on what image you're portraying to a potential client or customer, and that is through your written presence. So people will check you out online these days. So it used to be back in the day, you ran an ad in the newspaper and you got a phone call, and then you had a moment where you could engage with the person. That doesn't happen these days. Your 0 moment of truth is they're going to go to your website, your social media pages, and find out who you are before they decide to even contact you via email, phone, however you have them contacting you. So you're going to miss out on individuals if you're not sharing, again, that why you're in this business and why you do what you do, or belong to an organization or Rotary, any of those things it's applicable for. So I say your 3 keys to success are to be relevant, certainly be passionate about what you do, and be about others. So, but number 1, always remember to be YOU, because, God created you the way he did for a reason. So to be yourself, because everybody else is taken. So you want to be who you are. And that's it. Thank you for being my human clicker over there. And I wasn't sure how much time I would have, so I did bring samples of a lot of the 5.
We go back?
Sure. Yep. So yeah, either questions or Amanda, I wasn't sure how.
Until 12:40, so however you would like to.
Okay. I'll take some questions, and then again, I have plenty of samples if any of you guys want to see. Yes, my dear.
It seems lately I've been coaching and advising grandkids and great nephews and nieces about the art of writing a resume. How do you coach younger people compared to, say, a group like this?
So the resume is typically, this is the facts jack about someone, so that is the structure of a resume. Now I do incorporate some key competencies to that, or I do insert values and things into the resume. So my resumes are structured differently than the typical resume platform that you're going to find. So what's important for younger people and students to understand, especially when writing scholarships, which I do for individuals, is your leadership. Leadership. Scholarships are looking for leadership in individuals. So even if you're the captain of the football team, if you're co-captain of something, if you're in an organization at school, that is so critical to them. And they may think at the time it's like, who cares? Poo-poo, who cares? I was captain of the swim team or whatever. that will pay them huge benefits in the long term. So encourage them to be active in things, and that is part of what they can put on their resume as well. It can be activities, interests, accomplishments, and all of that can be listed on a resume, even if they don't have a tremendous amount of actual work history yet. So that is important to them. Yeah.
I think it's really important to differentiate resume versus bio versus sales pitch.
Yes.
And by the way, you never get 60 seconds in an elevator.
Could be, maybe you're going to the 28th floor.
No, so I don't know how many people in here have been Vistage members, but in Vistage they required, one of the projects was to write your pitch 7 words.
Oh, wow.
I wrote a really, really, really good one, and then everybody said, God, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like,
Yeah.
That's where you get into the tech side.
Give us your 7 words.
I can easily give it to you because I've done it forever. We help customers improve their packaging system. I was in corrugated sales and president of the company. So
Okay,
I
so
think-
you use the help word, number 2.
And that was what, when I saw that word in there, strictly differentiates between when you're trying to sell something versus when you're trying to sell yourself. And I thought, when I saw that word, I said, I've got to differentiate this and see what your thoughts are on that.
So
Because
tell me
if
the
we're talking-
sentence again.
We help customers improve their packaging system. I can't help them if they don't want to be helped. And so the customer needs to work with us, and I think that's true in every sales situation.
So for you, I would change it to enable. I enable our customers, because that's what you do, you're an enabler. If they don't want it, they won't do it. So,
Enabling is not adequate, because in sales, what the definition of sales, that you would hit so much on, would be, I need to tell them something they don't know. So when you say somebody already knows what they want to buy, not in corrugated packaging, they don't know jack. That's probably true in most professional sales.
yeah, but they know they need packaging. So they want
Yeah, so
packaging.
what, there's 100 companies they can buy packaging.
Yeah, so you have to
So
differentiate.
they already have it. Okay, so
Differentiate.
how do we go from that? I think the elements you're talking about are absolutely true, but wouldn't you agree that that they're different elements? Versus Jackie's resume versus someone's bio for an annual report versus trying to
Yeah.
sell
So
something.
my presentation's normally 90 minutes for
Yeah,
this,
no,
so I had to
loved it.
really like truncate it down to a few key.
The other thing that it has to do, which I love that you said, is it has to have the listener ask a question. So when I say we help customers improve their packaging systems, it begs the question, how the hell do you do that? And if it doesn't prompt that, you're probably talking to the wrong person. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
no,
fabulous
I
stuff.
have a question. I love that you use the word clients.
Well, see,
Is that on purpose?
oh, absolutely.
I love that.
I absolutely.
It
I don't want to help prospects.
Exactly.
Because they're not going to buy
I
from
love
me.
that.
So we help customers.
That's my favorite part of your
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
thought about that a lot,
I bet
actually.
you did. That's
It's
good.
like an assumptive close.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, yes, hello.
In the corporate world nowadays, it seems that resumes are reviewed at the front line by computer algorithms.
I hate it.
So for young people like Jackie and my kids, what kind of advice do you give to get through that wall in many instances that are rejecting resumes, well-written resumes that aren't hitting the key words?
So I say go outside the box. Get your resume in front of them a different way. So I've actually authored a book called Hunting to Hired, and it talks about the whole gamut of how you are different and you avoid the submit button. It's so sad that the industry has gone that way, and I don't know if it came that way out of laziness or whatever, but you're not getting a true inclination of who a person is through their resume because of that. A computer is figuring out if you have value. How can a computer figure out if you have value and if you stand for the same things that their company does, if you fit their culture? So when I coach clients, we are all about fitting with the culture, and we go about it in a completely different way. So that we have a bio, a cover letter, and the resume are our 3 initial tools that we use to get in front of a prospective client. But we go about it in a very stealth way at times and investigative way. We do a lot of research. Find out where can we meet that hiring decision maker outside of their office. And it's a little bit more difficult now that people are working from home. But it's interesting, and it can be done. I've had success with that. So, to think outside the box. Can't go the traditional way. Yes?
Well, since people are citing untraditional things, I made a career for a long time telling people I work for food. Buy me lunch and tell me what's making your head hurt. And together, we'll see if we can do something about that.
Nice, cute.
And if we can't, I probably know somebody else who can, and I'll introduce you to them.
It's great. Well
Got
done.
me more jobs than you could ever shake a stick at.
Right.
Something makes everybody's head hurt.
Yeah.
It's always something I can fix.
How much time do I have, my dear?
Till 12:40.
Okay, a couple more minutes. All right, so let me just show you some examples of what I was talking about. So this is a trifold brochure, duh. So on the back here, we actually put the owner's mini 3-paragraph bio. So she actually was able to incorporate it into hers. Here is another client, a bifold brochure for Aflac. So Bobbia's bio is on the back page of that. Here's one of my brochures as the trade show doctor, yet another one of my businesses. I know you're like, are you for real, Diane? Yes, I'm for real. So my bio as the trade show doctor is here, which reads completely different from my other bios. Each time I have to think about my audience and the product I offer and services I offer. And this is actually a brochure we put together, it's getting a little ratted up, for a client of mine that did a trade show. So, but the very first page, and we did these so that they're different heights so you can see what the title of each one is, but the very first page is his bio. Because no one's going to move forward and cares about what he does unless they understand who Andrew is. So meet Andrew Ramsey and you meet Precision Solution Group. They're one and the same. Their values are the same. How he views his clients and customers are the same as a person as well as a business owner. So that's how we started this one out. This is a good story. So I wrote a bio on a gal named Deborah. So here's her full one. See, it really fits on a full 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Here's her mini 3. Then from there I created a press release. Okay, because there was something occurring, any kind of action, activity, event, anniversary, move your office, start a new employee. I mean, anything's newsworthy. It's kind of interesting. So from that, like I said, I created that. So then a magazine called New Albany, Healthy New Albany picked up the story, and then they interviewed her and did a story. But that all stemmed from that initial bio and keep moving that forward. So I had another gentleman, and I'll probably close with this one because this is great. So did his full page bio, shishing. Then I created a press release for him. The Columbus Dispatch picked it up, ran an article on him. Then the White House called him. Can you believe it? So President Obama was in office at the time. He was touched by what Bill was doing, so he actually called him and encouraged him to keep moving forward with the idea. So that's kind of my best one. Can I promise that everybody's going to get a call from the White House if they write their bio? No. But I love that story, and it is true. Yes, one more question? Okay.
Do you think LinkedIn is useful and valuable and all that?
I'm on it. Do I use it? No.
Okay. Do you have different LinkedIn entries for all of your
No, they
personnel?
let you have one. So I have to pick a team. So depending on which of my businesses I'm promoting at the time. So I'm on there. So I'm on there as the career strategist because I thought that LinkedIn was mostly for people looking for work, right? So I thought, well, if I'm on there on the career strategist, I'm swimming with my audience. And it's not so much. I have, I think, 3,000 connects on LinkedIn because once you're over 500, they don't show how many you have. And I have never reached out to anyone, ever. All of those people have reached out to me. So the only thing that proves to me, well, people want to sell you anything, but also that my bio is intriguing enough that I am getting people to reach out to me. And many of them mention, I read your bio. they actually say that in their introduction to me. So in one way, that gives me some validation that that particular bio for that particular business does work, because I've had over 3,000 people contact me regarding it. Do they want my services? Sometimes they do, but then it's like, oh, I have to pay for your help? Yeah. Then, they're not interested so much anymore. So it's like, well, how bad do you want a job? I can help you. But anyway, or a career, not a job. Well, thank you all for your wonderful attention and questions.
Thank you very much. Have a great week. I'll see you guys next week.